Over the last week, even as the situation in our world, in our nation, in our community has been developing, I've found that uh, my own heart has been processing things and developing in new ways. At the beginning of this week, I realized that the initial shock and adjustments that came with this new lifestyle had worn off a bit, and instead I realized that I just felt a sense of sadness over the continuing season of waiting and really missing seeing everybody in our regular gatherings. I was helped by an article written by one of our own members, Crystal Stauffer, who blogs at Hearts Refreshed with some of her friends. So I've included an article from her from last week that reminds us that even though the communities that God has given us are good and help us grow, that most fundamentally, the relationship that is most satisfying and that we really need is our relationship with God. So I've included an article from Crystal about that I found encouraging, and I think you will too. Another thing that's become more prominent in my mind is just this experience of difficulty and suffering that so many of us are experiencing in this season in different ways reminds us that we are in a spiritual battle. Sometimes we can forget that in the midst of a relatively comfortable life. So I've included a hymn called Are We Soldiers of the Cross? You might be familiar to slightly different lyrics that I'm also familiar with called Am I a Soldier of the Cross? Either way, this is a good hymn that encourages me, and I hope it encourages you to remind us of the battle we're in and of the confidence we can have of victory. After that, I've included a fun little episode created by folks over at Awesome Science that teaches children and adults really what viruses are and how to stay safe, how viruses are even transmitted. And it also at the same time gives biblical teaching about how to think about viruses and how to process our fears. So I watched this video with my kids earlier this week, and they found it informative and also encouraging. So I would encourage you to check that out. On Saturday, Lord willing, at 2 p.m., we're going to have part 2 of our Zoom chat showing photos from the Museum of the Bible. We did this last Saturday and looked at several photos of ancient documents. Unfortunately, that call got cut off at 40 minutes. I've upgraded my Zoom account, so we won't have that problem this week. The focus on Saturday, Lord willing, is going to be on photos of the English Bible, which start before John Wycliffe. So I think you'll find that interesting. Feel free to join that call at 2 p.m. this Saturday. I've been really encouraged as I've talked with different people about ways that folks are trying to stay connected, and one of the ways that we can stay connected very practically is by using the prayer guide and also the membership directory. If you're trying to get in touch with somebody and you need their contact information, you can find it in the membership directory. I know most of you have this already. If you would like a hard copy or a PDF version, feel free to contact me and I can get that over to you. I've also included an updated schedule at the very bottom. And the most important thing to note here is that the elders have discussed the recent direction from our governor, and we've decided to follow his direction by canceling our services through the month of April. So when we gather to discuss what we're going to do, when we gather virtually as elders on Zoom, we pray and we ask for the Lord's guidance, and we also want to honor our public officials. And so that's the decision that we've made at this point. We still long to gather together again. We pray that the Lord would allow us to do that soon. And we hope that some of these resources and the regular efforts that we make while They're not as good as getting to see one another face to face. We hope that they're helpful for you and encouraging.